I never meant it to be cruel. That's the part that still twists my stomach when I think back on it. It started as a joke, the kind you make after too much wine, when you're feeling seen by the wrong person and invisible to the one who's supposed to know you best. I'm Aloan, 38, born in Bristol, living just outside Manchester now. I'd been with Callum for 11 years. Long enough that people stopped asking how we met and started asking why we weren't married yet. Long enough that routines replaced romance without either of us noticing when the switch happened. Callum was dependable in the way people praise, but rarely crave. He paid bills on time, remembered birthdays, fixed things around the house. He kissed my forehead instead of my mouth. He asked about my day, but didn't really listen to the answer. Somewhere along the line, I stopped feeling like a woman and started feeling like furniture. Useful, familiar, easy to overlook. I didn't scream about it. I didn't threaten to leave. I told myself this was what long relationships looked like. Quiet, predictable, safe. Pierce was Callum's best friend from university. American, originally from Oregon, tall, dry sense of humor, eyes that lingered a second longer than polite. He visited a few times a year, crashing on our sofa, fitting into our lives like he'd always been there. With Pierce, conversations had edges again. He noticed when I changed my hair. He laughed at my sarcasm instead of missing it. When Callum retreated into his phone after dinner, Pierce stayed at the table and talked to me like I mattered. Nothing physical ever happened. That's the truth, even if it sounds like a convenient one. But emotional lines blurred faster than I expected. Late-night chats, private jokes, the kind of familiarity that grows when someone actually sees you. It felt dangerous and intoxicating, and I hated myself for enjoying it. I told myself it was harmless because it wasn't sex, because I was still going to bed beside my partner every night, because I hadn't technically crossed the line. The night it all blew up was meant to be harmless. We were at a small dinner party, just the three of us and a couple of friends. Wine flowed. Laughter got louder. Someone made a joke about how men never understand women's bodies. I laughed a little too sharp and said, honestly, Pierce probably knows my body better than Callum does. I meant it as irony, as a jab at emotional distance, not anatomy. The table went quiet. I didn't notice right away. Callum had stepped back into the room. He'd heard everything. The look on his face wasn't anger. It was something colder, like a door closing softly but permanently. No shouting followed. No scene. He didn't ask me to explain. He didn't accuse me of anything. He just said, I think I'm going to head out, grabbed his coat, and left. The door clicked shut behind him, and the sound echoed louder than any slam. I tried calling. He didn't answer. I texted, explaining, apologizing, minimizing. It was a joke. I didn't mean it like that. You know I love you. The messages stayed unread. Pierce looked wrecked, apologizing over and over, but his guilt didn't help. If anything, it made the situation uglier. By the time everyone left, the house felt hollow. I sat on the edge of the bed all night, replaying the moment, wishing I could pull the words back into my mouth. Callum didn't come home. The next morning, he sent a single message. I need space. Don't contact me. That was it. No argument. No negotiation. Just distance. Days passed. Then weeks. When we finally talked, it was clinical. He said he'd realized something in that moment, standing in the hallway, listening. That he'd already lost me long before I said it out loud. That my joke wasn't the betrayal. It was the confirmation. He moved out quietly, sorted his things when I wasn't there, left the house cleaner than he found it. He didn't badmouth me to friends. He didn't demand explanations. He just withdrew his presence, his effort, his affection, like turning off a tap. I tried to explain the loneliness, the neglect, how unseen I'd felt. He listened, nodded, and said, "You should have told me before you found someone else to hear you." Then he stood up and left. I thought losing him would break me. Instead, it stripped me bare. There was no villain to rage against, no dramatic fallout to justify my pain. Just the quiet understanding that I'd wounded someone who loved me by seeking validation in the wrong place. I learned something brutal in that silence. Betrayal isn't always an affair. Sometimes it's the moment you stop choosing your partner and start choosing to be understood by someone else. Callum never came back. Last I heard, he moved south, closer to his sister, started over. Pierce and I stopped talking entirely. Whatever connection we thought we had wasn't worth the damage it caused. I sit with that now, with the knowledge that words can end things just as surely as actions. I didn't lose him because of a joke. I lost him because the joke was true in a way I'd been refusing to admit.